Very good morning, student. Now this short video is for the broad ligament. Now the broad ligament is the double fold of peritoneum which extend from the lateral border of the uterus, okay, and then it goes right up to the lateral wall of the lesser pelvis. See, let us see, this is the mid-sagittal section of the pelvic cavity here. This is the fourth and fifth lumbar vertebra, then this is the sacrum is here, and then you can see the pubic symphysis is here, and this is the urinary bladder, the cavity of the urinary bladder. Behind the urinary bladder, this is the vagina is here, this part is the cervix. This part is cervix and this part is the uterus. This is uterine cavity. This is the cervical canal is here. Behind this vagina, cervix, this part is the rectum. Just below will be the anal canal. This is the part of the lesser pelvis which lies behind the broad ligament or the uterine uterus, okay, just in front of the rectum. So this is the broad ligament. I was saying you that the broad ligament is the double fold of the peritoneum. So the examiner, when he will ask about the broad ligament, he will ask the extent of the broad ligament. Then you should say that the broad ligament is the double fold of peritoneum which, after reflecting from the anterior surface of the body of the uterus and fundus, okay, and from its posterior surface, from its lateral border, the two fold of peritoneum they extend to the lateral border, lateral surface of the lesser pelvis. And this double fold of peritoneum on right as well as left side of the uterus, they divide the uterine cavity into two compartments, an anterior compartment which contains the urinary bladder and a large posterior compartment behind that of the broad ligament which contains the rectum, the sigmoid colon, the coils of the jejunum, the coils of the ileum. So in my finger, this fold of the peritoneum which just I am pointing with this finger is that of the broad ligament. Now since you know that this broad ligament is the double fold of peritoneum, what are its contents, okay, or what are its parts of the broad contents we will learn later. So he can ask you that what are the parts of this broad ligament. You can see that the fold of the peritoneum which is coming from the lateral margin of the uterus and fundus, body of the uterus and fundus, it covers to that of the fallopian tube. Okay, the uppermost part is the fallopian tube. You can see here, this is the fundus, and from the junction of the fundus and body, this part which is coming out is that on either side, on right as well left, this is the fallopian tube, okay, or the uterine tube. Its other end is a fimbriated end, okay, where the ostium or opening of the fallopian tube will be there. So the uppermost end, okay, the reflection is from this fallopian tube, from anterior to the posterior side it is there, okay. So the part of the fold of peritoneum, okay, which starts from the fallopian tube which is covering to the fallopian tube, then it goes here right up to that of the and another ligament which is present on the posterior aspect of the broad ligament. See this is also extending from the junction of the fundus to that of the body. This ligament, see this ligament is going to this small structure, almond-shaped structure. This is the ovary, and this structure, fibromuscular tissue here, this band is called as the ligament of the ovary. So the broad ligament, which is the double fold of peritoneum from that of the fallopian tube right up to this ligament of ovary, is called as the mesosalpinx. This fold of the broad ligament is the mesosalpinx, okay. Then we will see that below this area, below the ligament of the ovary and the ovary, this large area of the broad ligament which is extending on medial side to the lateral border of the body of the uterus, and then on to the lateral side to that of the lateral wall of the lesser pelvis. Okay, this is the part which is called as mesometrium part. Okay, so it is going and getting attachment to the floor of the lesser pelvis, to the side wall of the lesser pelvis, right from ovary and the round ligament of the ovary to that of the from the lateral wall of the uterine cavity uterus to that of the lateral wall of the pelvic cavity. This part of the peritoneum below the mesosalpinx is called as the mesometrial part. Okay, then there is a small fold of the peritoneum in the posterior aspect of this broad ligament which I am reflecting. See, this is the double fold of peritoneum coming out from the posterior layer of this double folded peritoneum, and this gives attachment to this ovary on the posterior aspect of the broad ligament, and this fold of the peritoneum, okay, is called as the mesovarium. Okay, it is formed by the doubling of the posterior layer of the broad ligament. Then there is one more part of this broad ligament, and this extends from the fimbriated end of the fallopian tube, okay, from this fimbriated end of the fallopian tube and ovary, and will go towards the lateral wall of the lesser pelvis. This part, okay, this part of the peritoneum lateralmost, and this is called a suspensory ligament of the ovary. Thus it suspends not only the ovary, it also suspends the terminal part of the fimbriated end of that of the fallopian tube, and this is that suspensory ligament, and this contain in it the ovarian artery, ovarian vein, the lymphatics, and the nerve which are coming here, okay, the autonomic nerves. So this is called as the suspensory ligament of the ovary. So there is a mesosalpinx, there is a mesometrium, there is a mesovarium, and then suspensory ligament of the ovary. Let us come to this. He can ask the last question about this broad ligament is that, okay, what are the contents, important contents of the broad ligament? Okay, one of this I have already told you that in this uppermost border, this part of the broad ligament will contain the fallopian tube, okay, or the uterine tube. Then on anterior aspect of the broad ligament, there will be a ligament. See this ligament? Fibromuscular ligament, which takes origin from the origin side, anterior to the origin side of the fallopian tube, and it runs in the two layers of the broad ligament or the peritoneum, and this goes in the deep inguinal ring, and this is called as the round ligament. Okay, it is called as the round ligament, which will run through the inguinal canal. The third important structure which will be here, which I have already shown you in the posterior part, okay, ligament of the ovary, which is going from the posto-inferior aspect of the attachment of fallopian tube right up to the ovary, okay, medial end of the ovary. So this is the ligament of the ovary, is another content of the broad ligament. And then on the lateral border of this uterus, okay, near the lateral border of the uterus, between the two layers of the peritoneum, will running upward will be the uterine artery, and I have said that into the suspensory ligament there will be the artery which will come as the ovarian artery. So the ovarian artery will come from suspensory ligament from lateral side, uterine artery will come from that of the along the lateral border of the uterus, and then it will run into the fold of the peritoneum just below that of the fallopian tube. So ovarian and uterine artery, then they will anastomose in the fold of the peritoneum, that is the broad ligament is there. This broad ligament is the fold of the peritoneum, and it is not capable to give support to that of the uterus. Thus it is considered as the false ligament of the uterus. Thank you very much for watching this short video on the broad ligament.